Alaska, the land at the edge of the world. Imagine a place where mountains rise directly from the sea, where winter darkness can last for weeks, where glaciers move slowly across ancient valleys, and where human beings have survived for thousands of years against one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Today, Alaska is the largest state in the United States, a land known for wilderness, oil, wildlife, native cultures, extraordinary natural beauty. But Alaska's history is much older than the modern borders drawn on maps. This story begins thousands of years before Europeans have ever arrived. Around 14,000 BC, during the Upper Paleolithic period, group of people moved into the regions through the Bering Land Bridge, which once connected Asia and North America. Over generations, different communities developed across Alaska's enormous landscape. Among them were the Haida, Tsimshian, Aleut, Inupiat, and Yupik peoples. These were not simply people struggling to survive in an empty wilderness. They viewed sophisticated cultures shaped by the sea, river, forest, mountains, Arctic conditions. Their ways of life differed greatly depending on geography. Coastal peoples depended heavily on marine resources, while communities further inland developed different hunting, fishing, seasonal traditions. Long before Alaska became Russian territory or an American state, it was already home to complex societies with their own languages, political systems, traditions, beliefs, and stories. The very name Alaska reflects the native past, comes from the Aleut word Alaska, generally understood mean mainland or continent. Then in 18th century, outsiders began arriving in growing numbers. Russian explorers reached Alaska in the early 1700s. They were followed by traders, especially men searching for valuable animal fur. At first, the attraction was economic. Sea, water, fur was extremely valuable. Russian traders wanted control over the animals and trade connected to them. As Russian influence expanded, however, contact often brought violence, forced labor, displacement, and diseases. For Alaska Native communities, the consequences could be devastating. Old world diseases spread through population that had little immunity. According to strict accounts, during the first generation of Russian contact, the Aleut population suffered catastrophic losses. In 1784, Russian traders Grigorich arrived at the Three Sand Bay on Kodiak Island. His company helped establish what became the first foreign Russian settlement in Alaska. Russian expansion continued. By the end of the 18th century, Alexander had become one of the most powerful figures in Russian America. Russian settlements were established around Alaska, including at Sitka, which eventually became the colonial capital. But Russian control was never complete. Native resistance continued, but particularly among the Inuit. Conflict between Russian settlers and native communities became part of the history of southeastern Alaska. Russian Orthodox missionaries also arrived, leaving a culture and region influences that can still be in some Alaskan communities today. Russia was not the only European power interested in the region. Spain sent expeditions northward and claimed part of the Pacific coast. British explorers and traders also arrived. Captain James Cook explored Alaska's coastline In 1778, while searching for possible passages through the Arctic, for decades Alaska existed at the edge of the competing imperial ambition. But by the 19th century, Russia was losing interest. Managing such a distant territory was expensive. The fur trade was declining. Russia also feared that Britain might eventually take Alaska during a future conflict. So Russia decided to sell. In 1867, the United States agreed to purchase Alaska for $7.2 million. At that time, many Americans thought the decision was ridiculous. The purchase became known by mocking names such as Seward's Folly and Seward's Icebox, after U.S. Secretary of the State William Seward, one of its strongest supporters. To critics, America has spent millions of buying frozen land at the edge of the continent. The story would prove the territory was far more valuable than many imagined. The American flag was normally raised over Alaska on October 18, 1867. But American ownership did not immediately transfer the region. Much of Alaska remained unmapped and difficult to access. For years, it was administered in different ways by U.S. Army, Treasury Department, and Navy. Then gold changed everything. In the late 1890s, gold's discoveries in the Yukon region attracted thousands of prospectors. Alaska became an important gateway to the gold fields. Places such as Skyway suddenly filled with miners, traders, workers, and fortune seekers. For roughly 4 minutes, the earth moved violently. Land collapsed, ports were destroyed, and communities were damaged. Tsunamis swept across coastal areas. Valdez, Seneca, Seward, Kodiak, and other communities suffered enormous destruction. More than 100 people lost their lives, yet Alaska rebuilt. And soon another discovery would reshape the state completely. In 1968, enormous oil reserves were discovered at Prudhoe Bay on Alaska's north slope. The discovery created both opportunity and controversy. Oil promises jobs, revenue, infrastructure, and economic growth, but moving it across Alaska required an extraordinary engineering project. The solution was the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, stretching roughly 800 miles from the north slope to the port of Valdez. The pipeline had to cross mountains, unstable frozen grounds, wildlife, migration routes, and active fault frozen. It was completed in 1977 at a cost of billions of dollars. Oil transport Alaska's economy. The state created the Alaska's Permanent Fund to preserve part of its mineral oil for the future. Instead of allowing all oil revenue to disappear into the immediate spending, part of the money would be invested. But Alaska's dependence on natural resources created difficult questions. How much development should be allowed? How much wilderness should be protected? Those questions became even more urgent in 1989. On March 24, the oil tanker Valdez struck a reef in Prince William Sound. About 11 million gallons of crude oil spilled into the water, contaminating approximately 1,100 miles of coastline. Wildlife suffered on a massive scale. Hundreds of thousands of seabirds were estimated to have died, along with sea otters and other marine animals. The spill became one of the most famous environmental disasters in American history. Cleanup efforts continued for years, and scientists debated the long-term ecological damage. The disaster revealed a central tension that still defines Alaska today. The state possesses extraordinary natural wealth, it also possesses extraordinary natural vulnerability. Alaska continues huge oil reserves, mineral deposits, fisheries, forests, and other resources. At the same time, it contains some of the largest remaining wilderness areas in the United States. Debaters over dealing in the place such as the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge show how difficult that balance can be for some communities. Development represents employment, energy security, and economic survival. For conservationists and many others, industrial expansion threatens ecosystems that may never fully recover once damaged. Native communities also hold different views, often shaped by local needs, land rights, cultural traditions, and economic realities. There is no simple story, and for us, that is what makes Alaska so fascinating. This story is not merely a story of explorer, government, wars, or oil companies. Also, the story of native peoples who lived there long before modern nations claimed the land. It is the story of migrant crossing frozen landscape, of Russian poor traders searching for profit, or miners climbing dangerous trails during the gold rush, soldiers fighting on remote islands during the World War II, of families rebuilding after one of history's strongest earthquakes, engineering building a pipeline through mountains and permafrost, and of communities still debating what Alaska's future should look like. In 1967, Alaska adopted an official state motto, "North to the Future." The words reflection optimism, the belief that Alaska represented possibility, opportunity, and a new frontier. But the future of Alaska may depend on more than extracting what lies beneath its ground. It may depend on how carefully people protected what exists above it, its forests, its ocean, its wildlife, its native cultures, its communities, and the enormous landscape that has shaped human life for thousands of years. Alaska remains a place of extreme cold, extreme beauty, extreme distance, and extraordinary human endurance. From the first people crossing the Bering Land ring to the modern cities of Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau, the history of Alaska remains us that even the most remote places can become central to the history of nations. At the edge of the Arctic, where mountains meet the oceans and glaciers continue their ancient journey toward the sea, Alaska is still changing. Its past was shaped by the survival, its modern history was shaped by ambition, and its future will be shaped by the choices people make about the land itself. This is Alaska, a land once dismissed as an empty frozen wild wilderness, a land that became the battlefield, a gold frontier, an oil center, a strategic gateway, and the fourth ninth state of the United States.